Alright, so today is moving day, so this might be my last video out of my car for some time, because we're going into the winter. I love these fireside chats out of my car for some reason. I really do. Even when I actually move into my apartment, I might still make a couple videos when I go out stargazing, right? I love to drive to Vantage, Washington, where there's a vantage point for stargazing events. We got a lunar eclipse coming up. I'll probably shoot videos there as well. But one of my big fears, I'm going to move into a house. One of my big fears is getting housemates that are very closed off. I ran into this problem a couple months ago when I was living in Phoenix, Arizona. I had a housemate who was an EMT, and he might not be so closed off, but he works very long hours on the days that he does work, and then on the days off, he might not spend a lot of time at the home either. And so he would get up, he might go to the kitchen for like 2 minutes and then rush out the door and not say a word at all. And that drove me nuts for some reason. I had another housemate, he was only in there for, I think, a month out of the 4 months that I was living there. I had another housemate who was a security guard for a shopping mall, and he was also very closed off. Now later on, after I got to know him, I learned that they train at their workplace to not engage in conversations outside of their security work, because a lot of criminals will take advantage of that situation, which is good, sensible advice. And so when I was shopping for the apartment here in Seattle, I wanted to avoid that situation. It just feels so awkward. Sometimes when nobody's talking, I have a tendency to blurt out things that I later regret. And more importantly, I just want to network with the right people, right? Over in Phoenix, it was no big deal. I was only going to live there for a few months anyway. But back home in Seattle, a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, I want to know that I have a best friend forever, I have a business partner with the computer games that I'm writing, and maybe a significant other in my life, right? I can't stay forever with people who close off like that and close the door for me, right? So that was my main source of concern. Not my main one, because then I watched Judge Judy, which I love to watch, and then I hear all sorts of horror stories involving housemates, and I feel lucky that I'm only dealing with this, right? Some people have drama, they injure each other, they owe each other money. You get the idea, right? I'm not dealing. I really have to be pleased that I'm not dealing with that, but for some reason I take that for granted, and then I worry about all this nonsense, right? Well, it's not really nonsense. But to give you an idea of why that bothers me so much, next week we have a lunar eclipse, and in an ideal world, I wish I could ask my work if I could rearrange my schedule a little bit, right? The lunar eclipse obviously happens at night, but I would love to have either the day before that off or the day after that off. And then I hear my coworkers wanting the day off because they don't have childcare, or an extended family member has COVID-19. It just doesn't feel right to ask for time off for a stargazing event, right? But it's very important for my long-term health too, right? Missing a night's sleep can't be good for our immune systems, right? And what's not good for my immune system is not going to be good for the health of everybody else in contact with me. I wish people would see it that way, right? Unfortunately, the fact that I don't have connections and allies doesn't help in that regard, right? So once again, just like 3 other lunar eclipses that I've seen in recent times, I have to make sacrifices again and be just totally toasted out of my mind the next day, right? I've done that before. It's not fun. I hope not to do that at some point in the future, right? And but you know, my housemates over in Phoenix had a good point, though. They didn't tell me this, but I think part of the reason they close off is they don't want everybody to know about the inner workings of their minds, right? I think part of the reason that I have such a hard time asking for time off is that once people know how important it is for me to have November 19th off, they want to extract, right? In exchange for that, hey, I want these favors, right? Some people will, once they know what you want, they will extract from you, right? It's kind of like Facebook wanting to change their name to, what is it? I forget the name. They recently, Meta, right? And now all of a sudden, Meta.com wants to extract, what is it, 50 million, $100 million from Facebook, because they know it's Facebook who wants to buy it, right? If I tried to buy Meta.com a few months ago, they might have only asked for a few $100,000, right? But now because it's Facebook wanting it, they'll ask for 50 million, right? And that's part of that's a mistake that I made in the past, right? Letting people know how much I want this or want that, and then people will extract from me, right? My housemates, they don't let me know, right? I'm kind of dealing with that at my work as well. I do private tutoring. A lot of these clients are very clever. I deal with a lot of Asian clients, right? I got 2 clients whose families are from Korea. I got one who's from the Philippines. Trying to think where all my clients are from. I got one that's from I got a bunch from China, and one Japanese client. They're all very closed off. You will never know what they want, and that's very clever of them, right? Because it makes me nervous about what I can ask, right? Are they gonna? Am I gonna scare them away if I ask to reschedule? I don't know, right? Am I gonna? Are they going to be put off by the fact that I actually leave my tutoring on time? I don't know, right? So it makes it very easy for them to get a better deal out of it, right? Unfortunately, I often let out those things too early and people extract. And yeah, information is very valuable, especially when it's about your personal quirks that might not apply to everybody else.